Hello, everyone, and welcome to Beyond the Meeting, presented by AudioCodes Meeting Insights. Here's where we talk about the importance of capturing, saving, and sharing the knowledge shared during your company meetings. In this session, we'll be talking about how your company meetings can influence a culture of inclusion. Today, Tania Adar has graced us with her presence. Tania is the product manager for a few of AudioCodes recording softwares. But Tania, maybe you can tell us a little bit more about yourself and some of the work you do here at AudioCodes.
Absolutely, Josh. So I have been with AudioCodes for more than 20 years. Started as a software engineer and changed many roles in development department. And the last 5 years, I am holding position of the product manager for our calls and meetings recording solutions.
Thank you, Tania. I hadn't realized that you had been here for 20 years, so your expert opinion on this topic will be perfect. But let's dive in. So, what does inclusion mean to you, and how do you think it can be fostered within a company culture?
Sure. To me, inclusion means to feel comfortable in your workspace, to feel accepted, respectable, regardless of the backgrounds and identities. It also means to have open communications with your manager, team members, and colleagues. Um, in addition, it means to be involved in the activities that you do and being able to contribute to success of the product, of the team, and the company as a whole. I think it's also important to have somebody at your workspace that care about you as a person.
Work is such a large part of our lives, and we also have to realize that we're all people outside of our day-to-day work. People who have families, people who are in relationships, who have hobbies, or all these other things similar to ourselves and what we like to do outside of work. It's the same for others. So trying to keep that in mind of when you're in a conversation, or people want to feel respected, they want to have autonomy, they want to feel like they are trusted. So when we can do those things, start to build a culture of inclusion that can help people do their best work and feel empowered to do their best work.
It is important, like whatever I truly put what I think important in the workspace that makes me included. And it's not only the work and, having friends in workspace, it's very important. That's why I'm 20 years in audio codes.
Yeah, I mean,
Really?
you have great friends here, and it's fun to do work
Yeah.
with people that you are friends with. And it takes time to build uh, a great relationship. Sometimes you have those people in your life that you meet, and within 5 minutes, you're like, oh, we're going to be best friends. And then others, it just takes some time to get to know them. They may be a little bit more in their shell, and that can be common sometimes in work, that you don't fully come out of your shell unless you get to know the person and who they are outside of work. Um, but yeah, no, I hadn't realized that you'd worked for AudioCodes for 20 years. And just think about all the relationships that you have at AudioCodes, and the relationships that you've developed for 20 years is quite a long time.
And just imagine working from home, especially
Mm-hmm.
now we all getting to be virtual people. So it's so important there is someone there that care about you as a person, that ask you, how are you today? Did you have your coffee? Did you have your lunch?
Yes. Did you have your lunch? Yeah, it's you got to remember that. Yeah, no, I agree. I think about all the people that I've been able to meet, and yeah, it's been virtually, and it's a little bit different developing a relationship over video or FaceTime or whatever you want to call it. But you can still have incredible conversations and get to know people that way, whether it be you know on the East Coast, the West Coast, or on the other side of the world.
So how can inclusion be fostered in the company culture? First of all, it is important that company understand that inclusion has positive impact on the employees' work and productivity and overall well-being. Secondly, it would be helpful to have a discussion with the employees and understand what inclusion means to them. Thirdly, build the inclusion into your specific culture. Companies like us, people have different cultures. It could be a small company with a very fast pace, could be a large organization that have heavy processes. It could be companies in different industries. It could be a financial company, technology company in different countries, and even global companies. So each company has its own culture, and we should try to build and foster the inclusion according to the culture. And some of the ways we can foster inclusion could be hiring appropriate and diverse candidates, provide equal opportunities to the employees. We also can encourage open communications and create collaborative environment. And when we talk about collaborative environment, we collaborating the most in meeting space, and we spend a significant amount of time in the meetings. Many surveys show that people report that they overwhelmed with the number of meetings they having a day. They also report that meetings are not productive, and they also report that meetings holding them from completing their work. So if one can think that inclusion means to include all of the people that somehow relative to the subject into meeting invitation, it's quite the opposite. The smaller the meeting, the more productive and the more included people feel. And when people feel more included and productive, the whole entire company is more productive.
So Tanya, how do you think we can create safe spaces in our meetings where everyone feels comfortable sharing their ideas and opinions?
So there are a number of things we can do to make people comfortable in the meeting space. And first of all, we can schedule meetings in advance. We should schedule meeting in advance so that people can manage their time more efficiently. Secondly, it is important to provide a clear agenda so people know what to expect and can get prepared. One thing that I believe very important is that when now we have a hybrid environment and some of the people meet in the physical conference room while other join this meeting remotely, to turn on video so the people that joining remotely don't feel excluded from the conversation. They actually feel included. They can see everybody else as well. Another thing is make meetings small and give the non-essential people time back. You can put the non-essential people in your optional invitees list so they are aware there is a meeting. They can decide whether they want to join this meeting or continue working maybe on more important project they have. And then definitely record your meetings, create and distribute meeting summaries and decisions so that people who could not attend the meeting can stay in the loop, and they can stay in the loop in a fraction of time, just reading summaries. And if they do need to dive in deeper into discussion, they always can access the recording and play the specific moment, the specific speaker part in half of the time by using quick playback. Another good practice that I found, and I actually schedule a meeting like that, try to give people time between meetings so they have time to recharge. And instead of a scheduling meeting of 30 minutes, schedule 25 minutes. Instead of scheduling meeting of 1 hour, schedule 50 minutes meeting. And Microsoft Outlook supports that configuration, so you can configure your calendar to create those kind of meetings by default.
I didn't realize that you could configure that to happen automatically of setting like a 25-minute meeting versus a 30-minute meeting. But I do always appreciate when, you hit on a couple things. I always appreciate when someone adds an agenda. And it says like, all right, this is what we're talking about. These are the topics we're going to go over. And then even going beyond that and saying, we're going to focus on this topic for 15 minutes. We're going to focus on this topic for another 15 minutes. And then we'll spend about 5 minutes or so, depending on how long the meeting is, just kind of wrapping up and setting, action items, or kind of reviewing our action items that we talked about through the meeting. And then, that sets you up for, if it's a status update, you can know that, okay, Tania is going to focus on this task over the next week and provide an email back to us based off of, what she was able to complete. And same for myself. And then also, yes, always appreciate having a couple minutes between meetings. Especially, if you are in the office, you have to say you're going from conference room to conference room. If you're in a big office and you have multiple different spaces where you meet, or if you're at home, you need to take a break, you need to drink water, you want to go get some fresh air outside or anything like that. It's nice to just be able to take, just a couple minutes between meetings. We get like meeting fatigue or webcam fatigue. That's definitely a thing. Just thinking, if you're seeing yourself on webcam or hearing yourself talk for 5, 6, 7 hours a day, it can just it takes a lot mentally when you're doing that. And just by the end of the day, you're just exhausted. Maybe you've been sitting in the chair all day, but you've been talking all day, and it makes it exhausted.
Exactly.
So how can we ensure that our meetings are accessible and accommodating to all employees, including those with disabilities or different language abilities?
This is a very important question, Josh, because when we work with the people, sometimes we know about disabilities of the people, and sometimes we don't know about their disabilities. So it's very important to have a discussion with all of the people, as well as the people with the disabilities, and understand their specific needs and preferences so we can accommodate um, their needs. And for example, one of the things we can do, we can try to utilize live closed captions so the hearing impaired people can have more productive meetings. We can also use live translations to remove the language barrier, especially if we work in a global organization where people talk different languages and their language of the presenter might be not their native language. They can switch to another language. Um, and then definitely record the meeting so the people that could not attend the meeting can quickly catch up by listening to the recording.
Yeah, I think those are all great points. Especially, we work for a large global organization where there's people that speak a lot of different languages. And the live translation is something that I find extremely interesting. Do you know, like, how much do you know about that? How maybe like you could tell us a little bit more about like the accuracy. Have you read anything about that?
Yeah, so first of all, you do want to have the tools, the unified communication platform that supports it. Microsoft do support live translations, and it did. I speak 3 languages. Basically, I speak English, Hebrew, and Russian, and we tried to run Russian in parallel to a meeting that was in English, and it did very good job. The translation was clear and understandable.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. I wonder if it's like how it does, if you need a mic that's like really close to your face, or if you're speaking through the audio on your computer, if that may affect it. But, you know, the fact that, well, you speak 3 different languages, first of all, that's incredible. Um, but then, I don't know, is it where you could have people on a call who their first language is, say there's Hebrew, Russian, and English, and someone who speaks Russian could be watching the translation in Russian, and then someone else who speaks Hebrew could be seeing in Hebrew? Is that how it works?
Exactly, that's how it works in
Wow.
Microsoft platform. You actually can configure once the closed captions are enabled, which is the first thing that the voice will be transcribed. Then you can configure on your end the language that you understand better, and it will just show to you the translation of the speaker language. And
Yeah.
this technology is improving every day. So, for example, the closed caption, which is transcription, it's already has very good quality in many languages. Microsoft support over 100 languages, and then translation is just translating that text into the language that the person that participated in the meeting listened to. So, the better the quality of the audio, the better the transcription, the better the translation.
Tanya, so I know we had some good conversations around this topic, but what are some steps that we can take to identify biases that may be prevalent in our decision making process?
It's such an interesting question, and it's very relevant to product people. So, to me and current, that question is so current because maybe the most important job of a product manager is to build products that bring value to customer, address needs of the customers. So, to build the best solution for the product, we do need to understand what is exactly the need that that solution should address. However, in majority of the cases, we've been asked to provide features. We've been asked to provide features from customers. I want that button on the UI. We have been asked to provide features from our sales team, from our support team, from customer success, from our executives. To give you just one simple example, a customer asked us to provide an option to download a transcription. And we said, great, yeah, that's we should in a month already have this feature for you. And then we asked the customer, why do you need that transcription? What are you going to do with that transcription? We thought maybe the customer need that transcription to be attached to a different system or to send it over to distribute. And the customer told us, well, I do need sometimes to fix some words in the transcription. So the need here is actually to have a more accurate transcription, and the solution for that could be different. It could be through custom vocabularies to provide so that transcription by default automatically has better accuracy, or maybe provide the customer with in place editing of those words.
Yeah, I like that you brought that up because I think it also emphasizes the point that you need to have conversations with your customers, and sometimes the requests that you get may not always be. You get a request and then you think of what the solution is, but the request may not actually reference or be in depth enough to identify the actual problem. So your example was perfect there of like, it's not that we then provide a feature that you can download the transcript. It's that we need to make the transcript more accurate, or we need to, cut out some of, rather than having to download and then re-upload, why don't we allow people to just edit within the software itself? That's makes for a better feature and a better experience for the user. So asking those clarifying questions can only happen through actually having a conversation with your customers. And by doing that, that removes the bias from the decision of spending time on that specific feature when you should be actually maybe doing a different feature.
Exactly. It's to make this product decision unbiased to get to the needs. And sometimes it reminds me this broken telephone game where we have a line of the people standing up, and the first person in line gets a message, and then they whisper the message from one to another till the last person in the line actually speaks up the message, and message already different message. So it was through the different preference of the people and through the biases changed. So how do we as the product managers get to the voice of the customer, to the unbiased need?
Yes, I love that. I've also seen that played out kind of in like a charade style as well, of rather than it, someone like whispering in their ear whatever they're telling them, but having them do some kind of movement, and then by the person at the end, it's just completely different, and it's hilarious. And yeah, you completely missed the mark.
So how do we make those unbiased decisions as a product manager? So first of all, we should try to participate in all of the meetings where the voice of the customer is heard in order to have that opportunity to ask clarifying questions. And so those meetings where customers describe their needs and requirements are very important to us. But we cannot be all over the places. And as you know, Josh, we in AudioCodes a global company all over the world. Our people meet customers all over the world. So one important point is also educate your team to really collect unbiased feedback by asking the right questions, why it is needed and what value will it bring and why what problem does it solve. And most importantly, I think, is also again to record meetings with the customers so that the person who was participating in this meeting can share the place where customer was describing their need or was describing their requirements, can be shared with the product manager, and product manager can hear it, the voice of the customer, from the original call.
So, Tanya, how do you envision a company would evolve their culture over time to become more inclusive? And what are maybe some specific actions that they can take to make that a reality?
Okay, Josh. So fostering a company culture of inclusion is a collective responsibility that requires effort from everyone. But to make it reality, I believe the upper management need to drive it. So there has to be maybe a committee that can learn the subject, talk with the employees, understand what makes them feel included in the company, and then this committee can come with best practices for inclusion, to foster the inclusion in the company. And then people can be trained and educated on how to maybe um, schedule more productive meetings by putting non-essential employees on the optional invitees list, and maybe the participants of the meetings need to be also educated that if they optional, that's up to them to decide whether they want or not to join the meeting. And those are just a number of examples. Overall, I think it's an ongoing process that needs to have iterations, and where you can get feedback on the practices and improve on it over the time.
Yeah, I like the idea of having a committee, and maybe it's people who are in a leadership, in a leadership position. They have a lot of team members on their team where, they get an idea of the amount of meetings that their team has, and has a conversation with those people on their team and gets an idea, are these meetings productive? Or asking, how can they be more productive? Are there agendas that are added to the meeting invite? Is there ample time between the meetings that you have on your calendar? Being able to take that information back and then pass it along up, because it is something that starts from a leadership level and then is passed down through the team members throughout the organization, and being able to see if, from top down, is this process being followed, and is it helpful? What changes do we need to make? Do you feel you're being your most productive? And then I think that passes along as a culture through the organization when everyone's doing the same thing consistently.
Exactly.
That wraps us up for this month. If you have any questions, let us know. We hope to see you next time.